Good evening, everyone. How are we tonight? Very good. Love that. Welcome to our annual research update. My name is Ann Clark. I work for Senior Health Partners, and I have been part of the Miles for Memories leadership team since we were created. So I have been very blessed and fortunate to walk this journey along many people. I wanted to give you a little bit of history though. First, I will say this, at the end of the evening, you are going to hear more about Miles for Memories. You're gonna learn more about what we do, how you can get involved, how you can let others know in your circles who we are, what we are, all of the amazing programs we do, because honestly, together in this journey, we can make a big difference, and it can help everyone who's going through any type of dementia journey, whether it's watching their friend, watching someone they love, watching the neighbor. And education is a critical part to take some of the fear out of that. So we've been, Miles for Memories was formed in 2013, and then in 2015, we had an incredible opportunity to work as far as educating the community about research. So we actually at that time did an Alzheimer's disease research update and a Parkinson disease research update separately. And at that time, we were very fortunate that one of our speakers came to Battle Creek as a researcher. He was awarded some of the dollars, and then he shifted gears. And in 2016, we started a program called Elder Educator, because Dr. Atkin then switched over to education. He decided he wanted the elders of our community to educate the future doctors about what people go through when they actually receive a diagnosis. Our first year, we had 6 students who signed up, and we were thrilled. And the next year, when he asked, he had 50 students sign up because they wanted to learn from you. Then in 2017, we started the joint research update with Dr. Counts and Dr. Atkin. So this is a long-standing partnership with them, and Calhoun County is so very blessed to have these experts at our fingertips. And I say that from the depths of my soul, because when I have somebody who reaches out to me with something that's very difficult, I reach out to them and say, what do you know about this? What should we do? Do you have questions we should ask? And we are blessed that they provide back the information to us. So Dr. Counts is a professor in the Department of Translational Neuroscience at MSU College of Human Medicine in Grand Rapids at the campus there. His work really focuses on mechanisms of mild cognitive impairment and Alzheimer's disease. And then Dr. Atkin, they told me, I'm just going to give you something short to say. And it was like, that's short? Dr. Atkin is an associate professor at Michigan State University in the departments of radiology, neurology, and medical education. He teaches medical students and resident physicians all about the brain, as well as I think sometimes about life as well. So Dr. Atkin, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you make your introductions.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. I consider it a tremendous honor and privilege to be able to come to see you folks tonight. This is always the highlight of the year for me, is coming to these events. Could I just, very quickly, by show of hands, who has been to one of these research updates before? Okay. Similar show of hands, who has ever been to the doctor and found that you were more confused after talking to your doctor than before you came to your doctor? It's kind of a universal experience. So part of these research event updates is an opportunity to correct that problem with misunderstanding with your doctor for the future. And what I'm going to do is yes, Dr. Counts and I teach medical students, but tonight I'm going to enlist all of your help in teaching some medical students by having them practice talking about the brain to all of you. This is a big moment in a future physician's career because it's the first time to address an audience of the patients that they will be serving the rest of their career. And talking to folks is a skill that we don't formally teach in medical school. So opportunities like this are critical for developing their ability to explain to you what is going on in the brain, which is the most complicated part of medicine by far. So tonight I brought with me two medical students who are going to come up here and very bravely try to talk to you about some topics around dementia. And I'm trusting that you'll give them a warm welcome, but we'll open it up to feedback and you can tell them how they did and that sort of stuff. This is a really important educational moment, and I thank you for being part of this tradition that we've done now for many years. And it really is exciting to think about how many patients each of these individuals is going to see. In fact, if you do the back of the envelope calculations, each of them will see in their career over 300,000 patients. So the investment you make tonight will pay off for all of those patients as they are better able to explain to those folks what's going on. So first, I'm going to welcome up, both of these students are second year by about a day. So that's very exciting. First, I'm going to bring up, it was Troy's own, Ria Rout, who's going to tell you about music, movement, and memory. Please help me welcome Ria.
Okay, I'm gonna lower it slightly. Okay, we're good to go? Perfect. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ria Rout, and I'm a second year by a day medical student at Michigan State University College of Osteopathic Medicine. And tonight, with Dr. Atkin and Miles from Memories, I'd like to talk about the science behind music and movement as supportive care in dementia. What works, why it works, and what it cannot do. So let me start with an observation that anyone who has worked with this population recognizes. A person with moderate Alzheimer's disease may no longer be able to hold a conversation. And then suddenly a familiar song will play and they sing along to every word, accurately, sustained, sometimes the only fluent they'll produce all day. Tonight I want to walk you through what neuroscience tells us is actually happening, when that occurs, and what the randomized trial evidence supports as supportive care. So first, let's clear some definitions. Dementia is a syndrome, and that word means it is a recognizable pattern of symptoms. Here, it's a decline in memory, thinking, and the ability to manage daily life. It is not one disease, it is a clinical pattern with several different underlying causes. The most common cause, about 7 in 10 cases, is Alzheimer's disease. So others can include vascular dementia from strokes, Lewy body, frontotemporal, and mixed pathology. So Alzheimer's is a progressive disease, and it is currently incurable. However, there's available medications, including the newer anti-amyloid drugs that can modestly show decline, but they do not reverse it. So what is this disease actually doing to the brain? Some quick definitions. A neuron is a brain cell that carries electrical signals. You have about 86 billion of them. They connect to each other at junctions called synapses, forming the networks that produce memory, language, and movement. In Alzheimer's, 2 abnormal proteins build up. A sticky protein called amyloid forms plaques between neurons, and a protein called tau forms tangles inside of them. So it's these systems together that damage the synapses and eventually kill the cells. So this damage starts in the hippocampus, which is the brain's memory encoding region, and spreads outward. So that is why short-term memory tends to fail first, with other functions following later. That spreading damage produces the clinical features families know all too well. I mean, recent memory, language, attention and orientation, behavior, mood, sleep can all change over time. So the key idea is that different brain regions are affected at different rates. So symptoms appear in the order the underlying circuits are damaged. And some circuits, including those for familiar music, are damaged comparatively late. Which brings us to memory itself. Memory is not just one system. Episodic memory, for example, remembering recent events, lives in the hippocampus, and that is damaged early in Alzheimer's disease. Procedural memory, knowing how to do things, lives in the basal ganglia and cerebellum, which are deeper brain regions that handle well-learned automatic movements, usually preserved well into the disease. Emotional memory, the feeling associated with experience, lives in the amygdala, also often preserved. And musical memory, for long-loved songs, lives in the medial prefrontal cortex and motor auditory networks, these circuits that are relatively spared by Alzheimer's. So it really is this dissociation why a patient can fail to recall the conversation we just had and still produce every word of a song they learned at age 20. So before I show you what music is actually doing to the brain, I wanted to share something a little bit personal. In high school and college, I taught chair yoga at nursing homes through an initiative I coined, Movement is Medicine. And what I observed in these rooms is really kind of what brought me to medical school today. Even seated, even with gentle movement to familiar music, I saw the visible changes in attention, affect, and engagement. And there is a neuroscientific reason for that. So here's what's happening at the network level. When a familiar song plays, your brain doesn't process it in one place. Many different regions light up at once. One area picks up the sound, others pick up the rhythm, which is why we tap our foot without even thinking. The amygdala, which is our emotion center, gives the song its feeling. The hippocampus ties the song to memory. The reward center releases dopamine, the same chemical we feel from good food or a good hug. And the front of the brain, the part that holds our sense of who we are, links that song to identity. And because so many systems engage in parallel, music can still recruit attention, emotion, and motor activity even when one or more systems are impaired. This is mechanism, but not cure. And there's a specific finding worth noting. In 2015, in the journal Brain, a team of researchers led by Jacobson used a kind of brain scan called a functional MRI, which shows which brain regions are active during a task. So to find where the brain stores familiar music. Those regions sit in the front middle of the brain in an area called the medial prefrontal cortex. They then looked at these exact regions in patients with Alzheimer's disease and compared them to the rest of the brain. They found two things: significantly less shrinkage of the brain tissue and significantly less drop in how much energy those cells were using. In plain terms, the part of the brain that holds our favorite songs is damaged less than almost anywhere else. Now, the reason this matters comes down to how the brain is built. The networks that hold our favorite songs sit in a region Alzheimer's damages less than other parts of the brain. Now, that does not mean that the disease is being treated, but it does mean that familiar music can still reach parts of the brain that the disease has not yet damaged. So what does that actually do for patients? Well, the Cochrane collaboration, the gold standard for evidence reviews, pooled 22 randomized trials, about 1,000 participants total. And they concluded that music-based interventions probably reduce depression, anxiety, and behavioral problems overall, and may even improve quality of life. Now, these effects are modest, so the disease is not slowed. These are symptom-level outcomes, not disease level, but they're clinically meaningful, and particularly compared to antipsychotic medications, for example, which can carry black box warnings. Now, the same kind of evidence can also exist for movement. So a 21-year prospective cohort in the New England Journal of Medicine found that of all physical activity studied, dancing alone showed a 76% reduced dementia risk. A separate randomized trial in healthy seniors showed that dance produced unique gains in hippocampal volume compared to even fitness training. And small trials of chair yoga and moderate to severe dementia show improvements in mood and function. So how do we apply this? I want to show you these 5 steps right over here. So we can use music the patient learned by approximately age 20, sit beside the patient, not across from them, use let's listen together, not do you remember, use music before predictable difficult moments, and record what works and tailor it accordingly. Now, let me be clear on what the evidence does and does not support. What the evidence supports is a reduction in depression, anxiety, and behavioral disturbances, improved quality of life, and better engagement during care interactions. However, the evidence does not support cure or reversal of dementia, so slowing of pathology or restoration of impaired memory. This is simply supportive care, so not disease-modifying therapy. Now, to summarize, dementia is a progressive neurodegenerative disease. Music and movement do not slow or reverse it, but what they can do with randomized trial support is reduce depression, anxiety, and behavioral symptoms, and engage neural circuits that pathology has not damaged. That is supportive care worth practicing. Thank you.
All right, we are going to welcome up our next student. Please help me in welcoming Grosse Ile's own Olivia Robinson.
All right, hello everybody. I'm Olivia, and today I'll be talking about dual task training as a potential therapy to improve our brain health. To start, dual task training is a therapeutic approach where you complete a motor task and a cognitive or thinking task at the same time. So for example, some motor tasks are things like walking, aerobic exercises, resistance training like strength training, or balance exercises. And then while you'd be doing one of those things, you'd also combine a cognitive task. So things like brain games, memory tasks, or even verbal fluency, so like speaking and reading. You might be wondering how can doing 2 things at once potentially improve our brain health? And the answer lies within a concept known as neuroplasticity. So breaking the term down itself, neuro refers to our brain and our nervous system, while plasticity means the ability to be molded or changed. So neuroplasticity is our brain's ability to change and adapt throughout life by modifying its structure, functions, and connections in response to our different experiences. You can picture your brain as a field of tall grass. The first time you learn something new or experience something new, you have to push through the blades to carve a new path. This represents your brain making new connections. Now, at first, this new path can take more effort and focus because the route hasn't been made yet. But if you keep taking that route over and over again, the path becomes well-worn, easier, and a little bit more automatic. Just like when you practice a skill, your brain's strengthening those specific connections to get more efficient at what you do. And as you continue building your knowledge and practicing your different skills, the brain creates a reliable network of pathways. And just like when a path is no longer used, if you stop practicing a certain skill or habit, that connection weakens over time. This is the general mechanism of neuroplasticity. And something that's also important to note is that neuroplasticity is neutral. So it doesn't distinguish between if what we do is good or bad. It's simply the brain's way of reinforcing the pathways that we use the most and weakening the ones that we don't. That's why it's important to intentionally engage in the things that can benefit us most. So, some things that have been studied to improve neuroplasticity are things like learning, brain games and puzzles, exercise and movement, diet, sleep, and the main topic of today, dual task training. So as a reminder, dual task training is therapy that combines a motor activity with a thinking activity. And combining those activities can be kind of tricky at first. That's because our brains can really only focus on one complex thing at a time. For example, have you ever noticed that it's easier to have a conversation while you're sitting down versus if you were walking on an uneven path or driving? That's because your brain's splitting its attention between the 2 tasks at hand. And as we age or experience a decrease in our brain functioning, like when we're sick or sleepy, splitting attention between activities requires more effort. That's why a major benefit of dual task therapy is that it's simulating our daily lives, where we're required to switch our attention between different tasks often. And thanks to neuroplasticity, the more we practice, the better we get. So, you might be wondering who can benefit from dual task training. And the short answer is everyone. But the longer answer is that there's a lot of different research going on right now showing promising benefits in things like balance and mobility, healthy cognitive aging, stroke, dementia management, Parkinson's disease, and much more. And since there's so much research, I'll just be focusing on a few of these today. So, with dual task training, you're practicing a skill that really helps us balance, thinking and moving at the same time. So multiple studies have confirmed that dual task training significantly improves our balance and mobility more than conventional physical therapy does alone, or even things like walking or stretching. That can make it easier to complete our daily tasks, like walking, going up and down the stairs, or reaching for things. And it's also been shown that dual task training reduces the frequency of falls by 50%, which may reduce unintended hospitalizations in the long run. Continuing on, dementia is one of the most prevalent diseases in the United States, so it's been really important to find treatments that can help delay or slow its progression. There's been lots of different studies, and so analysis of over 20 randomized studies compared the results of dual task training on adults with dementia and mild cognitive impairment who completed at least 6 or more weeks of dual task training. And the research showed that there was a significant decrease in depression symptoms, significant improvements in our working memory, improving our balance and daily mobility, and there was a mild to moderate improvement in thinking skills like attention, problem solving, and planning. And continuing on for stroke patients, around 75% experience some sort of mobility impairment, while another 44% experience a form of cognitive impairment. In a big analysis of over 40 studies, it showed that dual task training improved stroke patients' walking speed by about 5 steps per minute. Balance test scores increased by about 22 to 40%, and there was a significant improvement in things like processing speed, memory, and attention. Additionally, functional MRI data, which looks at our brain's activity, found that there was improved coordination between different areas of the brain and a faster response time after dual task training in patients who are recovering from stroke. With such a wide range of potential benefits, you might be wondering how you can get started. And most often, dual task training begins in occupational therapy, where you can have a baseline assessment. From there, it's been shown that 60-minute sessions twice a week for 12 or more weeks have the best outcomes. And it's important to keep increasing the difficulty of these exercises to keep challenging your brain. I always like to note as well that it's important to speak with your physician and care team about what type of dual task training works best for you and your needs. So, some things to remember is that dual task training offers a non-medication-based treatment option for those with a variety of conditions and needs. There's no one-size-fits-all approach, so it's important to keep working with your care team to customize the best approach for you. And while neuroplasticity slows with age or various conditions, the brain never fully loses its ability to adapt based on your experiences. So it's never too late to start. Thank you.